pear chutney, pear preserves, pear sauce, pears with cherries, pear crumble. What to do with all these pears? Hey everybody, welcome back to my modern homestead. If you don't already know, my name is Janet and I am so happy that you are here. Now today, look what I've got. Oh, no, it's not just a heavy 5-gallon bucket. It's a 5-gallon bucket of pears, y'all. Somebody at church gifted us all of these pears, and I have been racking my brain trying to figure out what I want to do. There's so many options. We can do pear sauce, pear with cherries, pear chutney, pear jelly, pear jam, pear pie filling, pear butter, old-fashioned pear preserves. Y'all, there are so many options. And so not knowing what to do with them was not my problem. My problem has been making up my mind what I want to do with them because I only have a 5-gallon bucket. So I think what I'm going to do, oh yeah, we're going to use half of them for old-fashioned pear preserves, maybe. We're going to attempt it anyway, because I don't always have the best luck. I've done them several times and though they're good, they're just not quite right. But surely this time I'm going to get it right, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do the pear preserves and then I want to make pear butter. I've never done pear butter with my pears because, y'all, pears are precious. They're few and far between around here. And, oh, my heart. When we moved, I literally thought I was going to cry over having to leave my pear tree. Y'all, that we had that pear tree for several, 5 years, and it had just starting finally to produce pears, and I had to leave it. So when I was blessed with these pears, I was so happy, so happy. So this year we're going to do the pear butter because I already have some pears still in the pantry from last year. So, but the fun part, I'm going to try it. It will be an experiment. I'm going to steam what we have left from the cores and the peels just to see what the juice tastes like. If it's good, we'll use it for something. If not, we'll find something to do with it. So anyway, first thing we need to do is get the pears washed. So many options, not enough pears. No matter what you're going to do with pears, the first thing you always need to do is to go through them, check for bad ones, of course, but then you need to wash them. No matter where you get your pears, they need to be washed. So in this water, I have just a few drops of my Basic H by Shackley. Shh, don't tell them, that's not an approved thing. Through them. So I let them wash in here, and then I'm going to put clean water in the other side and give them a good rinse. Alrighty, now we've got these rinsed. One thing I did do the best I could, I tried to pull out the smallest pears because I've decided what I'm going to do with these first pears is get pear butter going. And then I left most of the biggest pears in the second batch over here in this other sink to make a small batch of old-fashioned pear preserves. I'm not sure how much we'll end up with out of these pears. We may be able to save some of these for the pear preserves. There we go. Let's get these peeled. Alrighty. Now, I'm not going to be super picky with how these are peeled or cut. I'm just wanting to make sure I get the peel off and get little pieces cut out of the pear. Could use my peeler. Might be easier, but I just didn't want to pull it out. So for these, like I said, all I'm doing is just peeling it, and when I get, my hands are wet, the knife is slipping. And these are a hard pear. I don't know if these are kefir or sand pears. I don't even know, maybe those are the same thing, but they're a pear that no matter how ripe they get, they're going, unless they're just rotten, they're going to stay firm. They make a wonderful pear preserve because they just don't get super mushy. Or unless you just, cook them long enough to get mushy. But I didn't mean to say pear preserves. Pears with cherries. Yum. Oh, and speaking of that, y'all. Now, let's talk about canned fruit you buy in the store. I grew up thinking I didn't like canned pears or canned peaches because all I'd ever had was just, what you can find in the store. Home canned fruit does not begin to compare with what you find in a store. Home canned fruit is totally different, a totally different texture. If you think you don't like canned fruit, I encourage you to try it. Home canned. It's so good, y'all. Now, I'm not going to try to cut the core out. I do my apples this way too. I just go around the sides of the fruit. For most of these, I'll use a cutting board, but just to show y'all, I just go around the outsides of the fruit and cut pieces off just like that, and then put it right into my pot. Now, I'm not worried about these turning brown because we're making pear butter. They're going to be brown anyway. A lot of times I will use lemon juice in the pears, not for the preservation and not for browning, but for the flavor, y'all. Not a lot of lemon juice. I've seen people put a ton of lemon juice in their pears. I don't like that much, but I like just enough that it brightens the flavor. So like for this stock pot, I might use 2 tablespoons, maybe 3 tablespoons. And it just really, like salt brings out the flavor of sweet things. Lemon just brightens pears. It's delicious. So anyway, enough jibber jabbering. Let me get all these done and I'll bring y'all back. Before I forget, I've pulled out my steamer. Remember I told you we would do the cores? I'm just going to put it, that was loud, right there in the top, just like that. So as I work through these, I'll just toss those in there and we'll see what happens. Okie doke, y'all. I am going to stop right here because my hand can't take it anymore. I guess I'm getting old, y'all. Anyway, I've got plenty to make pear butter with for us. It filled up my stock pot halfway or a little more than halfway. So this will be just right for us. I'm not making it for anybody else or anything. So what I'm going to do is get this over here on the stove and we'll add the other things to it. Okay, friends. Now, I had said I was going to do the pear preserves. We are going to do them, but just not today. It's gotten late in the day and I'm just running out of time. So, just for you, because I love y'all, I know y'all like exact measurements. So I went ahead and measured my pears. I ended up with 12 and a half cups. So we're just going to put those in there. And then we're going to add 3/4 cup of apple juice. If you don't have apple juice, you can use orange juice, water, just whichever you prefer. There we go. Now, that's all we're going to do at this point. We're just going to let them now cook down and get soft. And once they do that, we will move to the next step. You know what? I think I actually want to go ahead and add my lemon juice at this point. Hold on, let's do that. I'm so crazy. Forgot I already had it measured. I'm just doing 2 teaspoons of lemon juice into this. Again, that's preference. You don't even have to have it if you don't want it. So, whatever floats your boat. It's your kitchen, you make it yours, and it will be delicious. All right, we'll be back once this starts cooking down. And just to let you know, we're not letting the cores go to waste. I am still going to try juicing them. So what we're going to do is just put them in this bag and put them in the refrigerator until tomorrow morning. Now, as you can see, I went ahead and took these off of the stove. They have softened up a lot. And now that they're soft, I'm ready for the next part, which is using my immersion blender to blend them up into a sauce. Now, if I wanted to make pear sauce, I would blend them up nice and smooth and we would be done. But I don't want to make pear sauce. We're doing butter. So the last time I used my immersion blender on something really hot, I had a near disaster about scalding myself. So I'm going to let these sit here for just a minute and cool off a little bit. And then we're going to blend them up. I came over here because there's more room and I won't have such a big mess, hopefully, because I'll have more room to move around. So anyway, let's let these cool off just a second and we'll be right back. Okay, y'all, I'm impatient. They've only been cooling a minute, but let's go ahead. Make sure you keep the immersion blender down in here. I said that last time, but well, yeah, things don't always go as planned. Just do the best you can. There we go. Now we're going to put it back on the stove and add our spices. All right. I had to stop for just a minute and eat. I was about to starve. Told y'all it was getting late. Now I still feel a few chunks in here, but you know what? I think that's gonna make it good. If you don't want chunks in yours, just blend it up in a blender very carefully. All right, into this, let's add 1/2 cup of regular sugar and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You don't have to add the brown sugar, but I want it in there. And then I have 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon. And this is another ingredient that I like. If you don't want it in yours, that's perfectly okay. You can leave it out. But this is fresh nutmeg. Just gonna grind a little bit in there. About 1/4 teaspoon maybe. And one more ingredient. Y'all, I'm so bummed. I thought I had mace. That is one of my favorite spices. But oh well. Now here I have some Tahitian vanilla that I made. I like the Tahitian vanilla because it is fruitier than regular vanilla. Alright, so about 1½ teaspoons, thereabout. And let's mix it all together and turn this back on. And we're just going to let it cook slowly until it's nice and thick and smooth. Well, except for those little lumps in there. We may blend it up a little bit more in a minute, but for right now, we're just going to leave it be. I do have a food mill, but just for this little bit, I didn't want to pull all that out and make a big mess with it. So we're just going to go with it, and I think it'll be okay. I did taste this before I added anything to it, y'all. If I was making sauce with this, it would be so good before I even added anything to it. Let's see what this tastes like. Woo-wee. Y'all, that's the happening. Now, I've seen on other recipes that if you have it on the back of a spoon and you can run your finger through it and it leaves a line, then it's ready. So I guess it depends on how thick you want it. I wanted mine really thick, and you can see how it doesn't run in the pot. You can see where I've stirred. I think we're about ready. What y'all think? It's so pretty and it's so good. Alrighty, y'all. Now I did let this cook for a lot longer. I don't know, it still looks like applesauce or pear sauce to me. But it mounds up. It's really thick. It doesn't run, so I hope it's right. Let's get the jars. Okay, now we're going to fill the jars to 1/4 inch headspace. Oh, it's so pretty, y'all. I know one thing I did not add, and that was water to my jars when I was heating them. Not water, vinegar when I was heating them up. Got a film on them. That's all right. To run a spoon around the jar. We shouldn't have air bubbles, but just in case. It does mound up nicely in the jars when it plops on top. So maybe we did get it right. Right. Then we're going to wipe the rim of the jars. Shouldn't be too dirty. That funnel does a nice job of keeping the rims clean. But when we're debubbling, sometimes we make a mess. At least I do. Y'all may not. Alright, then I've washed my lids. Ooh, they're still dripping. Then we'll do rings finger tight. There we go, into the canner. All right, the jars are in the canner. Let's lower them. Oh, We need a little bit more water, so let's get the water at least 1 inch above these jars. There we go. Let's get the lid on. We'll bring it up to a rolling boil, and most extension offices recommend to can this for 10 minutes. So once it comes up to a rolling boil, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, look y'all. Look y'all up. Where are y'all? Look at that. It turned out perfectly. It's so sticky. Yum, y'all. This is so good. Go do it. Okay, now the timer has gone off. I've turned off the stove. I'm going to lift the lid away from me and sit it to the side. We're going to let this water become completely still, and then we will remove the jars. It'll take about 5 minutes. You want to let these jars sit for a few minutes just to help cut down on the siphoning, because if you should take them out right now, you run a big risk of that pear butter seeping out of the jars. Okay, our water is still. Let's get the jars out of the canner. There we go, everybody. There are our jars of pear butter. Sorry it's so dark. It's getting dark outside. Thank you all so much for joining me. You know I love it when you come and spend a few minutes with me. So until we meet again, may you be blessed. Love you guys.